Hi, welcome to the Sprue Review. This is a YouTube channel dedicated to reviewing plastic sprues of miniature gaming pieces. Hello, welcome to the Sprue Review. Today we're going to be reviewing the T-34 medium battle tank by Battlefront Miniatures, typically used in the game Flames of War. Come on, let's go take a closer look. So what you have here is the main hull of the T-34 sprue, and also the two turret variants. So you have the lower portion of the hull, the T-34-85 turret, the T-34-76 turret, the bases parts of the turret, the upper hull, and where you'd put the MG, the two little holes in the back here where you put the two exhausts, and then you have the option of the 85mm turret mantle, an open cupola, commander cupola, a closed commander cupola, a small turret hatch, and MG machine gun, and the flamethrower attachment. And then you have the mantle piece for the 76 late war version of the 76mm turret for this hexagonal turret on the for the 76 mil right here. Okay, starting out here, there's only one of these sprues. There's two of them here, so you can see the upper and the lower portions of the sprue. But as you can see, there's lots of different accessory parts for the hull and the turrets. Mainly fuel cans. There's a track piece there. You have several different barrel variants. Some of them used in this kit, some of them that are not. So what we'll do is we'll start with the barrel variants. So this one is this big one right here. This right here is the T-34-85. This one is the 57mm, which is not used very often. And then this common little one right here is the 76 mil, which is going to be used for your mid and your late war tanks. This one right here, this really long one and fat one, is the 100mm barrel, which is used in the SU-100 and not used in this kit. Next, you're going to have several different hatches. So looks like there's like a light or an antenna or a lamp or something. That's not used in this kit at all. And then there is two small hatches, and then a small cupola hatch that would use for a small cupola. This cupola right here for a commander cupola. And then you would use these. There's a hatch. There's tracks. This is a hatch for an SU-85 or an SU-100. It's not used in this kit. These long rectangular fueled tanks are used in earlier versions of the T-34 or some assault guns, and not necessarily used very often in this kit. Then you're used with some round fuel drums. You have some options, and you can set it up to either have fuel drums on the tank or off the tank. They were jettisoned before combat a lot of times, so you'll see combat photos where they're not on there, and you'll see other photos where they're in propaganda films where they're on there all the time. This weird looking rounded rhombus, whatever kind of hatch that is for the earlier, what they call it in Flames of War, now they call it an earlier turret. I believe it's like the 1942 version of the T-34. It's in Flames of War, that's the early hatch. Then this is the early 76 mil, and then you'll have these two fuel tanks that look really strange. They're big. These right here. These more like square tanks. They're not very often. They're only used in the earlier versions of the tank. And then you have squared and rounded turret or track covers. The square ones started appearing in 1945 and were used in the late, like on to Berlin kind of T-34s, and then these round ones are the most common for most periods of World War II. And then there were tanks that didn't have them on at all, or they just got broken or discarded. And I think that looks like that's most of the items on this. Yep, that's it. And last but not least, here's the tracks for the T-34, and these go for several different other kits also, like the SU-85 and SU-100. But you see right here, there's a lot of good detail on these. They're the really wide tracks on the T-34. There's really good detail and rivets inside in the portions of the track here. and then the detail goes most of the way down the track, and then it like sort of ends right about here, and then it becomes sort of flat. But as a gaming piece, you don't really need those extra details. There's probably a lot of extra work and stuff that they don't have to machine into the mold. But that's basically it. You basically get some, and I'll flip it over here, and you'll see that they're actually keyed, so they're really hard to, they're really hard to put on wrong. So when you go to build this, they go on there pretty easy, and that's it. So this version is the T-34 early turret. This version would only be available in the mid-war box. They don't apply this as an extra little sprue that I did not have any unbuilt options of. It's just a two-part sprue with just the upper and lower part of the turret, and then you would add on that early 76 mantle there in the front, and the early big rhombus shaped hatch that opens from the back to the front. And these were only used for a short period of time before they upgraded them to the next version that will show up here. This is the another version of the T-34. This would be the early 76mm. This one was used in around the Kursk, or known as the Kursk T-34. I believe it's the T-34 1942 or 1943, and it has what they a lot of times will refer to as the Mickey Mouse turret, where the two rounded turret hatches, when they opened up towards from back to front, it would look like two big giant Mickey Mouse ears. So you'd have this tank rolling down on you with its hatches open up with its two Mickey Mouse ear turrets hatches. And so the Germans gave it the nickname the Mickey Mouse tank. But that's the T-34 mid-war version. Okay, now we have the late war version of the T-34-76. This one has a larger commander cupola here. I believe there's periscopes and better optics and visuals for the commander. And then it has a small hatch to the side. They're all built, I think, after 1943 and built with this 76 millimeter variant with the commander cupola and the small little hatch. And this is basically the version that runs the 76 mil to the end of the war. And this here is the T-34-85. This one's sort of one of the more famous versions, and a lot of how the Soviets used this rendition a lot. They even built the Kursk monument using the 85, even though none of these tanks existed during the Battle of Kursk, at least with the 85 millimeter variant. But this one's shown and used long after World War II. All the way up. There may even be still armies using this version with some modifications still today. I believe even Saddam Hussein had some of these T-34-85s. Now, after, they still have the rounded track guards. 1945 and on, they were all squared off, and they were used with squared track guards.